Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, I have some of my favorite Christmas DIYs that you could use to decorate your home using Dollar Tree items. Now these projects are all put together in one video to inspire you to make some really fun holiday projects, and links to the original videos are in the description box below. Now as always, I have included the complete supply list as well, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather up your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers. And if you're a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and all the tips that I will share along the way. So now, let's just jump right into these projects. Now for this project, we'll start with one package of these 5-gallon paint stir sticks that were 98 cents from Lowe's, a piece of this foam board from the Dollar Tree, some of this Hallmark wrapping paper that I got from the Dollar Tree, and some white poster board from the Dollar Tree to create this metal sheet. Now the first thing we're going to do is to take our 5-gallon paint stir sticks in the package, and we want to cut off that curved edge. Now this will make them about 17 inches long. So now go ahead and open up your paint sticks and take one of them out, and you want to cut that one in half and make sure the two sections are equal. So now that your pieces are cut, we can proceed with staining, and I will be using this Jacobian stain by Minwax. So just go ahead and protect your work surface, and you want to apply your stain on both sides and the ends of each stick. And then you want to repeat this for each of the remaining sticks. Now when those are dry, we can just go ahead and just start working on our letters until they're done. So I printed out this word joy in the Cooper black font in size 600 in Microsoft Word. And I'll also be using this galvanized metal looking sheet that I created by spray painting poster board and dabbing it with a paper towel. And I'll link that up in the right hand corner so you'll see the full tutorial on how I did it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our printed letters and we want to tape them face down on the back of that poster board. And then we can use an embossing tool or ballpoint pen and trace around the printed outline of the letters, and this will transfer some of that printed ink onto the back of the poster board. And then remove that sheet, and we can repeat this for the other letters. And as you can see, the letter is lightly transferred onto the back, so we can easily trace it out. So now all of our letters have been transferred onto the poster board. And now we can cut out our letters. So to make the best cuts, I recommend using an X-Acto knife. Now, what you want to do is just carefully cut around each of the letters. And here are all of the letters cut out. The Y looks great, and then if you look at all of the letters, they look fantastic, perfect. Now in the metal tutorial, I made embossed lines to make even folds. So now we can go ahead and just fan fold those lines on our letters. And here's what they will look like. Now once they're all done, just set those to the side. So now our wood should be dry and we can make our frame. So you want to lay out the pieces so the printed side is on the inside and facing the bottom of the frame. So I'm going to adhere the pieces with hot glue. This is just a temporary hold. And what we're going to do is we're just going to apply hot glue to the inside piece, and we're going to be sandwiching those small pieces in between the two larger pieces. Now once the frame is all assembled, we're going to be reinforcing the sides with nails, and I'll be using these 1/2-inch wire nails to do this. So I'm going to turn the frame up on its side, and I'm going to use these needle nose pliers to hold those small nails while I nail them in with my hammer. Now you want to make 2 nails into each of the sides. So now just grab your foam board, and you want to place your frame right on top of it. Now for this piece, we're going to be tracing the inside of the frame onto the foam board. And then you want to grab your cutting mat and you want to use your ruler and your X-Acto knife to cut out that piece. So now that your piece is all nice and cut out, you can cover it. Now I'll be using this red and black check wrapping paper that I got from the Dollar Tree, or you could just use scrapbook if you like. Now I'm just going to place that foam board on the inside, and I want to fold the overhang over to the back side of that foam board and secure it in place with some hot glue. And as you adhere it together, you just want to trim as needed as you go. Now once that wrapping paper is all secure, I am going to go ahead and cover the back to finish it off for a nice clean look. And I'm just going to run a bead of hot glue around the edge and adhere it to the back. So now that that's done, we can add our letters. Now you're just going to place them and center them as best as you can. And I'm kind of using a ruler as a guide. Just apply some hot glue to the back of the letters where the folds contact the board, and then place them into place. And here they all are applied. So now I'm just going to grab the frame, and we want to make sure that the measurements are on the bottom. So I'm going to take 6 loose tumbling blocks, and I'm going to use them to support our board when we insert it. And I'm just going to place the blocks inside the frame as shown here. And then I'm going to apply hot glue to one side of the block and secure them around the inside of the frame. Now once those are all dry, we can insert our sign into the frame. Now it should fit snug, so there's no need to glue it into place. Now as an option, I'm going to add some leaves and berries to the top corner of my frame. And I'm just going to add it using hot glue. I have a few loose berries and some leaves, and I'm just going to put leaves and berries in each corner. You can choose whatever you like, or you can just keep it simple. And here is my joy sign on display. I just love how this project turned out. Now you would never know that these letters were made from poster board. And adding a few touches finish off the looks, and it makes it ready for the holidays. Let me know what you think about this project in the comments below. For this project, we'll start with 2 boxes of tumbling blocks from the Dollar Tree. We'll need a set of these glass tea light holders from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is lay out the sheer bonder silicone mat and grab the tumbling blocks. Now I stained a bunch of these ahead of time with my Jacobian stain by Minwax. So now you just want to grab your straight edge for your blocks and your hot glue gun. Now I will be using the Surebonder wood hot glue sticks for this project today. Now for each stand, each side will be 3 blocks long, and we'll be assembling 12 sets of 3 blocks. So now that we have all of our sets, we can bond the 3 strips together. Now we're just going to apply hot glue along the narrow side of the strip and adhere the 3 strips together. And this is one side of the stand, and we'll repeat this for the other strip. So now I'm going to take my carpenter square, which is also available from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to stand the sides up and glue them together. And once those 2 sides are bonded, then you just want to add the 2 remaining sides. Now, you want to make sure that you're sandwiching the sides in between the top and bottom pieces. And here is your first stand completed. So now for the second stand, we will have 2 blocks on the sides and 3 blocks on the top and bottom. So you want to start to assemble your strips just like we did the first time. Then once your strips are all made, you can start to bond together the 3 strips. Now you do want to make sure throughout this process, you just want to make sure you remove any glue easing out between the seams for a more clean look. And now we can assemble our second stand. And we want to make sure for this stand, we want to sandwich the shorter side pieces in between the 2 longer pieces. And now your 2 stands are complete. So now you want to grab your 2 tea light holders and you want to remove them from the package. Now these will be placed on top of our block stands, but first we're going to paint these with this Krylon Satin Black spray paint. And here are my tea light holders all dry. So now you can just grab your stands, and now what we're going to do is we're going to apply one of the tea light holders on top of each one. So to secure these, I will start by adding some E6000 to the top center of each stand. And then I'm going to add a line of hot glue around the bottom of the tea light holder and press it right on top of that E6000. And here are my 2 stands completed, and now you can add some candles. So coincidentally, I didn't have any tea light candles, but I did have these votives that fit perfectly. And here are the stands on display, and I really love this look. Now I think the wood with the black accent is perfect for guys and gals and can be decorated to fit either space. So now you can go ahead and place any holiday decor you want, or he can place his die-cast model or any trinket inside that he would like. Either way, this is a versatile piece to decorate with. Now here's the inspiration photo for this project. Now when I saw this, I immediately thought about the wood Christmas tree blanks at the Dollar Tree and how fun it would be to decorate it to match your space. Now I will make it match the white, but you can choose any color that you like. Now for this project, we'll need one of these wood Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree, some tumbling blocks from the Dollar Tree, some 16mm wood beads that I cut in half, and I'll put a demo in the upper right hand corner of this video to show you how, and in the description box. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to lay out my SureBonder silicone mat to protect my work surface from my hot glue, and I'll be using wood glue sticks for this project. So go ahead and remove all the tags from the tree, and you want to go ahead and grab your bowl of beads. Now I'm going to be placing them on the outside edge of my tree. Now I'm just going to start at the top and start to apply and place them along the edge all the way around the tree with the center eyes touching end to end. Now for any spaces that may be too tight for a full bead, just simply trim it down to fit the space and glue it into place. So now we can grab our tumbling blocks, and we will be making the base stand for our tree with 12 of the tumbling blocks. So now we need to glue the base together, and we can start by gluing strips of 3 blocks together, and we want to make sure you use a straight edge to make sure the sticks are nice and even. And once the sticks are made, we can glue all of the stick strips together. So now that our base is done, what we're going to do is we're going to add a block on each side of that tree trunk. Now you just want to hot glue the narrow side of the block to that tree trunk and adhere it into place, and make sure that's even with the bottom edge. And then just do the same on the back. And now that we have a nice flat surface at the bottom of our tree, we can glue it to our base. And we're just going to glue it to the 2 center blocks on the base that we made. Now we just want to make sure that we remove all of those glue webs before we paint it. Now I will be applying 2 coats of this Zinsser primer to my tree and letting it dry completely, but you can use whatever paint that you like. And then once it's dry, I'm going to use this tan color acrylic paint for some light distressing as seen in the inspiration piece. I'm just going to lightly brush on the color to the tree, and then once it's dry, it is complete. And here is our completed tree on display. Now this project was so simple and easy. Now this white tree is perfect for any space, and it creates a great canvas to drape additional decoration like lights or garland. Now you can also keep it simple, just the way that it came in the Kirklands showroom for a nice clean look. It's all up to you. We'll start with this large gift bag from the Dollar Tree. We'll also need some foam board from the Dollar Tree. And we'll need 2 packs of the 5-gallon paint stir sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. Now the first thing we're going to do is cut the paint sticks down to size for our frame, and 2 sticks will be cut at 15 inches and 2 will be cut at 17 inches. Now we will be staining these sticks that same lighter brown early American color, and one side has printed measurements and the other side is blank, so make sure you stain the blank side of each stick. Now you do want to make sure that you stain the sides and the ends of each stick as well. Now once these are all stained, sit them out to completely dry. So now that they are dry, we can go ahead and glue those sticks together, and you want to place the longer sticks on the sides and the shorter sticks across the top and the bottom. Now I'm going to hot glue them in place for a temporary hold, and you want to make sure that you wipe away any glue that oozes out of the seams as you go. Now once your frame dries, go ahead and flip it over, and I'm just going to add a few staples on the seam of each corner, and you want to make sure you use shorter staples so it doesn't go through the other side. So now grab your gift bag and your piece of foam board. Now you want to place that dried frame on top of the foam board first and trace the inner edge of the frame on top to just get a general idea of the placement for your bag. So now you're going to take the bag and you want to remove all of the handles and the tags. And then you want to center that frame on the bag and trace the inner frame shape to the bag, and you want to make sure you capture the image that you would like to have in your project. So now you just go ahead and cut your image out, and you want to make sure that your cut is at least a ½ inch larger than the outline that you just made on your bag. So now we can adhere that bag to the foam board, and I'm just going to use a piece of painter's tape on the bottom to hold it in place. Now I'm going to be using Mod Podge to adhere it, and you just want to apply a light coat to the board in small sections and smooth the bag on as you go. Now this helps to have a nice smooth appearance when you're completed. And now that the image is smooth and in place, you can proceed to the next step. So now we want to take the frame and center it on the image, and you want to trim off any excess foam board if needed. And then I noticed they had holes for the bag at the top, so I'm just going to mix a bit of green and black acrylic paint to fill in those holes. So flip over your frame and apply a bead of hot glue to the back of the frame. And then carefully place it on top of your image. Then flip it over and add some hot glue around the edge for a little bit of added security. Then to hang, all you have to do is use a piece of twine with knotted ends and hot glue it into place. Then you can hang this up and enjoy this beautiful piece, and I think it turned out awesome. Now this piece reminds me of something you would see at Hobby Lobby or Kirklands, and who would know it was actually Dollar Tree. Now I'm so impressed with the bags at Dollar Tree this year, and there are so many beautiful ones to choose from. Make sure you give this project a try. It's super easy. For this project, I'll be using this placemat from the Dollar Tree. And I'll be using a youth size medium or large t-shirt in any color that you like, and this was also from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is to lay out that t-shirt, and we want to make sure that it is nice and smooth and that the bottom hem of the t-shirt is nice and even. And then remove that packaging from the placemat, and you want to lay it on top of the t-shirt, making sure that about 1/3 of the placemat is hanging off the edge of the t-shirt. And then you want to take your scissors and you want to cut the t-shirt around the placemat as shown. So now we'll have 2 pieces for the back. Now we can assemble our cover, and what we want to do is lay the placemat down with the print facing you, and you want to remove all of those tags. Now remove the tags from the t-shirt as well. So our t-shirts will have a cut edge and a hemmed edge. Now we want to take one of the pieces and we want to lay it down on top of the placemat with the good side facing down and the hemmed edge towards the center. So now I'm going to sew my pillow, but if you wish to glue your pillow, I recommend using this Fabri-Tac fabric glue that is washable, and you can simply apply a bead around the edge in between those 2 layers. Now if you would rather hot glue, I recommend these fabric glue sticks by Bonder, since it is also washable. Now you could apply this the same way, and once you apply this, you would just press it into place with your hands. And then what you would do is take your second cut piece and you will lay it good side down also with the hem facing the center, and you want to overlap the first piece and then apply the glue of your choice just like the first time. Now if you are sewing your pillow like me, this is how I would just lay out the 2 loose pieces, and what you want to do is you just want to go around and secure it with clips or pins. And then you want to take it to your machine and stitch it all the way around. And here is my pillow cover all stitched together. Now if you glued, you want to make sure it's completely dry before you flip it right side out. Now you can also clip the corners on the inside as well to make your corners nice and sharp when you flip it right side out. And once it's all flipped, all you have to do now is to take your pillow form insert and place it into the cover. Now I made this by splitting a Dollar General pillow in half, and I'll link the tutorial up at the top and in the description box on how I did this. Now once your pillow form is nice and inserted, you just want to fluff it out, smooth out the back, and your pillow is ready to display. Now I made a second one, and here are the pair. I just love these easy pillow covers. Now these are so festive and easy to make, and plus they really do look high-end. Now I think the best thing about this is that you don't have a trillion stuffed pillows to store. You just pull off the cover, tuck it away until next year. That makes them perfect. Now I really hope that you are enjoying these crafts so far, and I just wanted to pop in and let you know that you can follow me on all these platforms below as She So Crafty. Now here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now I absolutely love the rustic look of the wood panels in this piece, and the glitter Christmas gives it that little hint of holiday cheer. Now this piece was priced at $84.99, but I knew I could recreate it using Dollar Tree and other inexpensive supplies. Now for this project, we'll start with this Merry Christmas sign from the Dollar Tree, and we'll also need some foam board from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is work on the sign, and I'm going to start by removing all of those tags. And then we can start cutting the sign apart. Now you can use an X-Acto knife, but I found that using just some regular old sharp scissors will work great. Now we will be using the Christmas portion of this sign for this project. So now we're going to seal in that glitter, and we're going to be using this Mod Podge. Now what you want to do is apply a layer to the entire front of the sign, and you also want to put a light layer on the back as well. Now once that's done, you can go ahead and sit the piece to the side to dry. So now grab your foam board, and we're going to apply a very light coat of Mod Podge to the entire surface. Now this will help seal in that paper surface and minimize any bowing. Now this foam board piece has been cut to 20 inches by 14.5. Now once that foam board is nice and dry, it may bow just slightly, but I already plan to place paint sticks on the back to make everything nice and flat. Now I'm just going to place one of the paint sticks on each side, and I want to apply it with some hot glue. And now that they are applied, you'll see that the edge is nice and even. So now we can start marking where we want our planks to go. So you just take a ruler, and what you want to do is make a mark every 2 inches on the top and bottom of the board. And now you're just going to draw a line and connect all of those marks you made. And here are all of my lines, and we'll use those as a guide. Now to make the planks, I will be using this antique Waverly wax, and I'll also use some clear wax that I'll mix with this elephant gray acrylic. Now I'm just going to place some in some bowls, and make sure to mix 3 parts clear to 1 part paint. So now we can start adding our planks to the foam board, and I'm going to be using this painter's tape to make sure that the planks are nice and even. And then take your chip brush, and you can start applying that antique wax lightly to the board, and just use your chip brush to make a nice wood texture. And then go ahead and remove that tape, and you can apply it to another plank on the board, and you could just add these in a few random places on the board. And now that we're done with the antique color, what we're going to do is we're going to take that gray color and we're going to apply it in the same way in just a few planks on the board. And once your gray planks are done, I added a little bit of the darker gray to the clear wax, and I'm just going to dry brush this on to one of the planks so it looks like it's an aged white color. And you can even dry brush on the antique wax too. It's all up to you. Now when they are just about dry, you can take some acrylic white paint and I'm just going to dab it onto a fresh brush, and I want to lightly go over the entire board with the grain to give it a nice weathered look. And now when that's done, just set it to the side to dry. So now we can work on the frame trim. Now I'm going to take a scrap of that foam board left over and I'm going to make some marks 1.25 inches apart on the short ends. And then I'm going to draw a line using the ruler to connect the marks. Now we're going to need a total of 4 strips as shown here. So now you can use your ruler and your X-Acto knife to cut the strips. Now we'll also need 4 1/4-inch strips as well to accent our frame. Now you just want to make sure 2 of your frame pieces are 21 inches and the other 2 are 15.5 inches. So now I wanted miter corners on a frame, so I'm taking a square piece of paper, folding it into a triangle, and I'm going to use that to cut the angle and mark the angle for my corners. And I'm going to repeat this for all of the corners of my frame pieces. And here are all my pieces nice and marked. So now you just take your ruler and your X-Acto knife and you want to trim those pieces as you mark them. So now that they are all trimmed, we can take our 1/4-inch pieces, and what we want to do is hot glue them down the center of each one of those frame pieces. And then once those are all applied, you just want to trim off the excess. So now that the pieces are all nice and trimmed, go ahead and test fit the pieces on the board just to make sure that they will fit properly. Then if everything looks good, just start to put the frame together by hot gluing all of the corners. So now that your frame is all assembled, we could just go ahead and grab our board. And now what you're going to do is just apply hot glue all around the board and place your frame right on top to secure it. So now we can finally add our Christmas sign right on top. We're just going to make sure it's nice and centered and then add hot glue to the back and press it into place. Now my planks didn't stand out as much as I would have liked, so what I'm going to do is lightly outline the planks with this black Sharpie. Now ideally you should do this before adding your frame, but this was a last minute decision that I decided to add. Also, I found that lining them freehand looks so much more natural than using a ruler, and you can also dry brush over the lines to blend them in when you are done. And here is our Christmas sign in all its shimmer. I just love how this turned out. Now I love how this foam board can easily be crafted into this beautiful piece, and it really makes a statement. And this sign from the Dollar Tree was the perfect fit for this project. Now it's so hard to believe that you can have this look for under $3. What a great deal. Now for this project, we're going to use this scrap piece of wood that is an inch thick. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay out the wood, and I'm just going to make some marks for a triangle shape, and I'm going to make 3 triangle shapes out of this little piece. So I just want to grab the ruler and a pencil, and I want to randomly mark some triangle shapes on the wood, and I'm making 2 shorter ones and 1 tall one. Now they don't have to be perfect, and I'm just going to eyeball it here. And then I'm going to take my wood outside and cut the shapes out with my saw. So here are all my cut shapes. So now I'm going to go ahead and stain these with my favorite Jacobian stain by Minwax. Now you could also use diluted acrylic paint or acrylic wax if you like. Now you do want to apply your stain on all the sides of the triangle and also on the front and the back of the piece. Now once you repeat this for all of your pieces, then let them dry thoroughly. So now I decided I wanted to add beads to my tree. So I found this wood beaded garland from Walmart, and I'll be cutting this apart just to use the black beads. Now you guys, this is a great deal for so many beads for $6, and they have these in red and white too. So in order to make my beads last, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them off the strand, and I am going to end up cutting the black beads in half. And this is what they look like cut in half, and I'll link a quick demo on how to do this in the upper right hand corner of this video and also in the description box below. So here are all my cut beads are ready to go. Now I will going to start laying them out on my triangles just to get a general placement idea. And then we're going to use our hot glue gun to secure the beads to the tree. Now there's no rhyme or reason to the placement. You just want to keep in mind to adjust your spacing as you go, and make sure you wipe away any glue that oozes out around your bead, and this will give it a nice clean look. And here are all of our beads on the trees, and they're ready for your space. So now you can place these on a shelf or a desk and show off your work. Now I'm really impressed with how these turned out. Now just like the tea light holders, the black with the wood looks so high end, and I'm really loving this look. Now of course, if you don't like beads, you can also use twine or even small chain link. Or you can flip them around and display them natural without any embellishments. It's all up to you. Now for this project, we'll start with one package of these tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, these window clings from Dollar General, a piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree, and also some buffalo check ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is lay out my SureBonder silicone mat, and I'm going to grab my tumbling blocks. Now I've gone ahead and stained a bunch of them ahead of time with my Jacobian wax stain by Minwax. So now what we're going to do is make our frames, and I will be joining 3 blocks together. Now using your straight edge, you want to join the 3 blocks together with your hot glue, and we'll be making a total of 12 sets. Now these 12 sets will be able to create 3 frames. So now I'm going to take my carpenter square that I also purchased from the Dollar Tree, and I'll use this to line up my frame to keep it nice and square. Now I will be adhering the sections by sandwiching the two sides in between the two tops as demonstrated here. Now you do want to make sure as you adhere these together, you want to wipe away any glue that oozes out of the seams for a nice clean finish. And once your frame is done, just repeat this for your other two frames. So now you want to grab your cutting mat and your foam board. Now you want to place your frames right on top. And what you're going to do is trace the outside of the frames onto the foam board with a pencil. Now once they're all traced, you want to grab your ruler and your X-Acto knife and you want to cut each one of those pieces out. And now we can add the foam board cutouts to the frames. Now you just want to add some hot glue to the back of the frame, and then you want to carefully place that foam board right on top. And here are all of the frames completed. So now we can grab our window clings. Now we will be applying the clings with this matte Mod Podge I picked up from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to take the first one, which is the tree and the deer piece, and I'm going to apply a thin layer of Mod Podge to the back of the cling. And then I want to carefully place it in the center of the frame, and I want to smooth it out from the center out. Now this is sure to remove all of your bubbles. Now then we want to do the same with the fox and the truck clings. And here are all three pictures with the clings applied. So now I want to just add a few snowflakes to the pictures as well, and I'm going to do this the same way with the Mod Podge. And now your pictures are all complete and you can display them just like this, but I'll show you how to have them in a hanging vertical display. So I'm going to be using a piece of buffalo check ribbon from the Dollar Tree to hang these, and I'm going to start by applying some hot glue to the end of the ribbon and place and center the deer photo right on top at the very end. Then just flip it over and add a bit of that hot glue to the back for some added security. Now I'll be using an extra tumbling block as a spacer between my frames. And once you have that space, just apply more hot glue and then apply that truck picture into place. And then you want to finish with the fox picture on top of that one. Now at the very top, you just want to fold the ribbon down to make a loop and secure the back into place with hot glue. Now since these window clings have a little bit of a shine, I'm just going to add a little bit of that matte Mod Podge on top of each cling to tone it down just a little. Now then, to finish it off, I was going to add a bow, but instead I decided to add an embellishment of pine and berries. So I'm going to start by taking a few of some garland ties and I'm going to twist them together, forming a little bundle. Now in order to make sure it lays flat, I'm just going to give the back of them a little bit of a shave, and then I'm just going to apply a generous amount of hot glue to the back and press it onto that top ribbon loop. And then I'm going to take two small pine cones and I'm going to add them to the top of the garland. And then I'm going to finish off with a cluster of berries. And now this piece is finished and ready to hang. And here is that completed project. Now I think this turned out super cute. Now this piece is perfect for those narrow spaces in your home that just need a little bit of spicing up. And this little touch of pine and berries really tops it off perfectly. Now, whether you choose to hang it vertically or place these individually, it'll be super cute to add to your holiday decor. So for this project, we'll start with this wood kids puzzle from Dollar Tree, and we'll need some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is take the puzzle and we want to carefully remove all of the packaging. And then you can remove all of the puzzle pieces. Now I will be hot gluing the puzzle pieces back into place, and this will ensure that it's nice and smooth. So once they're all secured, we can flip it over and stain the back of the puzzle, and I'll be using my Jacobian stain by Minwax. Now I'm just going to apply the stain all over the back, and you do want to make sure that you get around the sides as well. And once it's all stained, you want to set it to the side to dry. So now we can grab the rope and we can start to work on that rope accent. So remove all the packaging and we want to clip both ends of that rope. Then go ahead and start to unravel the 3 strands of the rope. So now that they're all separated, you want to lay one of the strands down straight, and then take a second strand and start to cut it into pieces that average about 10 or 11 inches. It'll be about 5.5 inches when it's folded in half. So once you have a bunch of strands cut, just go ahead and divide them in half. Now we're going to start to add them to that straight piece, and all you're going to do is placing that center loop under the string and then pulling the tails through the loop and securing it tightly into place. And you want to repeat this for the entire strand. Now we're going to end up with 4 tiers to our tree, and I just estimated how many strings I would need for each, just making each strand about 2, 3, maybe 4 strands longer than the last one. You just want to make sure it ends up being a nice even Christmas tree styled strand. So now once all the ties are on, I'm just going to grab a comb and I'm going to use it to separate and smooth out all of the strands in each section. And I'm just going to start from the bottom and work my way up. And here's a piece all combed out, and you just want to repeat this for each of the remaining sections. Now before we apply these to the board, I'll be covering the back of my board with craft paper for a more finished look. So you just want to go ahead and apply hot glue all the way around the back, and then take your craft paper and press it into place. And then once it's nice and secure, go ahead and flip it over and trim off all of the excess. So now we can grab our rope, and what we want to do is we just want to cut apart all 4 of our sections. So then you want to take all of your pieces and you want to lay them out on the board just to get an idea of how they should be placed. Now you do want these to overlap by 1 inch or so, but we'll be trimming off any excess. So we're going to start applying the bottom piece section, and we want to make sure that those ends that hang off the end are secured inside to the back of that piece. Then we're going to situate it on the board, and to secure it in place, we're just going to run a bead of hot glue where you want to apply the piece and then press it into place on the glue. And then comb out your strands so they are nice and even so we can give them a trim. And I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim the bottom edge nice and even. So now I'm going to take that next strand. I'm just going to repeat the process by gluing the ends to the back of the piece so they don't hang out. And then I'm going to secure it into place with hot glue on the board. You just want to make sure your strands overlap the other ones. Now to trim off this section, I found that using a rolling cutter is so much easier, and they do sell rotary cutters at the Dollar Tree as well as the mats. So you just want to lay your ruler on top of those strands and use a rolling cutter to cut off the excess. And voila, super easy. So then you can go ahead and add your third layer and then add your top layer. So now you just want to comb out your strands and spread them evenly into a tree shape. Now for the number count of strands in each row, I'll be sure to put that in the description box below. So once it's all combed out, you can place this on display just like this, but at the last minute, I decided to add a frame around my tree with tumbling blocks. So here I'm getting an idea of how many blocks I will need to make my frame. So what I ended up doing is I needed to assemble 2 sets of 4 blocks and 2 sets of 6 blocks. So now we can start to apply the blocks, and I'm going to first start at the top by hot gluing the narrow side of the block set to the top center. And then I'm going to go ahead and proceed with adding one of the sides. Then take another one of those 4 block sets and you can add at the bottom of the frame. Now remember, this is the shorter side, so it will be sandwiched in between the 2 sides. And then add your final side. And there you go, a great option for this look. And there you have it. This is a natural take on a Christmas tree display using wood and rope. Now I love how easy this was to make, and the final result really did come out awesome. Now I think this will look great with all of the neutral decor, and you can add or leave off the frame if you like. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see more neutral or guide-friendly projects in the future. Now here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now this piece caught my eye with the metal look, and combined with the beads, it really looks rustic and high-end. Now this piece was marked at $29.99, but I knew I could recreate it using my faux metal technique along with a few Dollar Tree supplies and some beads. Now for this project, we'll start with these long skewers from the Dollar Tree. And we'll also need some poster board from the Dollar Tree that we'll make into this metal looking sheet. Now I also will be using some 16mm beads, and I got these in bulk from Amazon. So we're going to start by creating this metal sheet from the poster board. Now all I did was spray paint the board with silver spray paint, then dab it with a paper towel when wet. Now I'll link the full tutorial in the upper right hand corner of this video and also in the description box below. Now to make sure we cut out our piece for the cone evenly, we're going to cut a piece of string the length of that short side of the poster board to use as a guide. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my board around, and I'm just going to hold one end of the string in the corner of that short side of the board and the other end holding a pencil, and I'm going to draw a curve from that corner to the other edge of the board. And then just cut that shape out with scissors. Now you just want to lay that piece nice and flat, and in order to form your cone, you just want to roll it up very tight. And then you want to adjust your cone so that the seam is straight. And once it's straight, just apply some painter's tape in place to hold it. Now once you're satisfied with the shape, go ahead and you can grab your hot glue and secure that edge seam in place. Now you do want to make sure that you apply it to the inside loose edges as well of the cone. Now we will be dividing this into 4 pieces. So my tree measures about 22 inches. So I'm going to cut it in 4 sections about 5.5 inches each. So I'm just going to measure the bottom section first, and I want to mark it all the way around with a pencil. And then I want to draw a line and connect all of my marks together. And then I want to go ahead and repeat the process for the next 2 rows until you have 4 equal sections. And now I'm just going to take a marker and I'm just making the line easier to see. Now in order to cut these apart without damaging, creasing, or folding the cone, you want to stuff it with some paper real firm, and then take your X-Acto knife with a really sharp blade and you want to carefully cut the sections apart. Now when you remove it, you want to make sure you remove any gaps in the layers with hot glue. And then just make your 2 last cuts. And now you have your 4 sections. Now in order to create that 1-inch gap between the layers, I'm going to be cutting a 1/2 inch off each of the cut edges. Now you just want to make your marks and you want to stuff it with paper once again. And then what you want to do is you want to trim off 1/2 inch of all of the cut ends. Now you'll trim off both sides of the center pieces and one side of the top and the bottom. And now we have all of our ends trimmed down. So now we can add our skewers, but first we're going to mark 4 equal corners on that bottom piece of the tree with a marker. And then you can add some hot glue to one of the skewers and place it inside that bottom piece, and you want to align it with one of those marks you made. And then add those other 3 skewers on the other 3 markings, and this is what it should look like. So now take that next section of your tree, you want to mark that in quarters as well, and then slide it onto the skewers, making sure you line up those back seams. Then you want to make sure your spacing is nice and neat, about 1 inch apart, and then secure that piece into place along those quarter markings that you made with hot glue. And then you want to repeat this for your 3rd piece. Now for the top, you just want to measure and then trim down the top of the skewers. Now once you mark it and trim it down, what you want to do is you want to add a generous amount of hot glue to the top, and then once that's added, you can put your top on, and you want to make sure that everything is aligned with the seams. And now that this is done and setting, we can put it to the side and start working on our beads. Now these are 16mm beads, and the link to these are in the description box below. Now to paint these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to string them on this wire that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now once these are all strung, what I'm going to do is take them out to paint, and I'll be using this Krylon Burgundy spray paint, or you can use acrylic paint and paint these by hand. And here are my beads all painted. Now go ahead and you can just remove them from the wire. Now I did notice that the inside will be seen inside of our cone, so make sure you go ahead and give it a spray of silver paint on the inside before adding your beads. Now while that dries, I'm going to start stringing our beads together that will be added to our tree. You just want to cut a piece of wire and start adding the beads so they'll fit each section. Now I found that the bead count would be about 8 beads for the top, 14 for the middle, and 22 for the bottom. Now once all the beads are strung, I'm going to be painting the skewers on my tree with this dark brown color. Now you just want to carefully paint all the sides of the exposed skewers with a fine brush. Now you do want to save this step for last, because when you paint the inside of your cone, the spray paint can also hit the skewers, so make sure you do this after you paint the inside of your tree cone. And here's everything painted. So now that they're dry, we can go ahead and start adding those beads. Now you just want to wrap them around the skewers, and you want to twist the wire to secure them firmly into place. And then you just want to add a few dots of hot glue under the beads to keep them from shifting. Now you can clip the end of the wires when this section is done, and you will repeat this for the other 2 sections. Now once they are all added, I am just going to touch up my beads where I have missed some spots, because sometimes when you spray paint them it can have some exposed wood, so we're just going to touch that up. So now what I'm going to do now, I didn't have a star, so I'm going to cut one out of foam board. So once I draw it out on a piece of foam board, I'm just going to cut it out with my X-Acto knife. And then what I'm going to do is paint it the same color as my beads. And now all you have to do is add your star on the top, and all you have to do is place a generous amount of that hot glue and sit that star right on top, and put some hot glue on the back near the bottom as well. And once that dries, you're all done with this project. So now you can place your beautiful creation on display. Now, how amazing did this turn out? Now this 2-foot tall tree looks absolutely stunning, and I really love that it looks like it's made from metal. Listen, I hope that you all enjoyed seeing these creations again, or for some of you, for the very first time. I hope that you all are inspired to create your own Christmas home decor using the different supplies from the Dollar Tree presented in this video. Now, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and also TikTok for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen, and make sure you hit the bell to be notified when my next DIY goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.